Just trying to make sure I can see the chat. Can I see the chat? Oh, you know, it probably doesn't allow me to see the chat because I haven't seen it. Can I please see the chat? Well, we're gonna get in this moment as I set it up. Can I see chat, please? Can I see the chat? How do I see the chat? Oh, here we are. One chat. Thank you very much. All right. Is there a possibility you could see my cam? Jesus. So we might not be able to see my cam for today. If that's okay. So yeah, I've been having an itch to write. Fortunately, we'll not be able to see this. However, what I'll do is I'll keep the tab of Microsoft to so I can see the chat, obviously, so I could answer questions. Document. Yeah, it's big brain time, boys. Sorry, pero enorme. Come on. Oh, jeez. Jeez. I don't agree with these ethics. Ugh. How do I make the windows smaller? Ugh. I don't like this. Sorry, this shit show. Please, I just want to. There we go. Why the hell? Jeez, that was so much harder than it needed to be. Yeah. Word starts off very large. So that kind of sucked. Alright. Alright, now I have to edit it because I'm an editing nut. You can hear my tunes. Alright, here we go. I lit candles for this, but you know, I'm having trouble with my streaming service, so that's why you're not able to see it the way you might. Okay. Oh, sorry for that burp. That's the one ASMR you don't want to see. Give me a moment. What am I thinking of? Yeah, I don't even know where that was going. Um, yeah, the writing process at work, especially for me. You know what? I got an idea. We about to change. This is the mid-game switch to juke. Not a sports person, if it's not obvious. So let's see. I'm gonna read something. Actually, I'm gonna read something I wrote. Well, we'll turn writing into fucking. We'll turn sorry. It's repeating. All right. Well, no, that was the wrong file. Ugh, sorry. I wanted to pull up a story I wrote. Maybe that might be a little more intuitive. No, it's not the right one. Is that what I'm thinking of? Oh yeah, that's the one. Hold up. I'm gonna read you a short story. What? No, I don't want that assignment. Jesus. There we go. Hit it right in the spot. All right, boys. All right, this is a draft of the short story I've written called "The Dead Man." Slowly dying, I know where I'm going to, is no black void, to join which I was born from, or to which I will disappear, but that I might spoil what I'm about to tell you. And one thing I never liked was spoilers. It was the one thing I hated more than anything else. My name is Kyle Leslie. I live in a small town, going to an old dying theater where I watched the chapter shows, the modern ones. It was by a man named Quincy Chesters. He had the only modern chapter shows in the 21st century, although he had things like Mr. Garrick's and Magic's Wills, but my favorite was The Dead Man. It was the story of a man who cast a spell on himself, wanting to live forever so that he could save others for eternity. Although you knew he was undead, he still found a way to make the cliffhangers meaningful. Like adding someone who needed to get out of there with him, or having his getting out decided someone else's outcome. Or even that his immortality only went so far. It was my favorite. I wasted my money on it like someone who was under a spell himself. Sorry, not anything. Sorry, I'm just terrible. Not anything one might think of as stereotypical, which who wrote that's awful. Most people think of a blood-boiling harbinger of evil and darkness, but it was more of a softer spell. It was not meant to harm me, but to entrap me. Or it's not entrap me or even kill me. It's meant to captivate me, show me a lost era and its beauty. As if someone from the past, for example, the person who wrote down the Epic of Gilgamesh, who did exactly that, preserved an idea that memory is immortality. It was this show that showed me beautiful. Showed me such a thing that I think very much seeps into the head of those who read the clay-preserved epic. The smell of that salty buttered popcorn, the light going down, as you descend into another world. It was bliss. It is bliss. It was my bliss. This was how I felt for many years, even taking on the mantle of the owner of that movie theater when the old woman who ran it finally died of a heart attack in the year 2016. From then on, I ran it myself, and even thought of making my own chapter plays, possibly even shooting them so that they could inspire people like me. My story, or at least the one I want to tell, happened about after a year of owning and running the theater. It was cold and rainy day in early March, something which is common in suburban Illinois. The town I live in is Yorkville. I live on a part of Route 47 where it takes you to Silver Springs. It was my town. I was its resident. My house is a one-story basement built on a slope which it sits. I walked out of my house, looking at its state of disrepair, not caring to fix it. The grass was in need of good trim, about 2 weeks ago, that is. I got into my 2009 sedan and got driving to work. It's not that far. It's not too far to walk. But just walking through the town. Jesus, sorry. It's not that. It's not that far to walk. But walking through the town, I was only think about how much cold and wet would bring me down. Ugh. The first thought was never meant to be written. It was always the winter, with its cold, sometimes arid, sometimes wet, chilling that seems to suck all the life out of someone who even dares to go outside. My drive was short, but warm. I got into my private parking space, which I made myself just a year ago. It was nice black and red letters, and there was where stenciled in with dotted Swiss became the type of font of the army. Walking around the building, beginning to open it up, it was noon. The sun was making its arc across the sun. I was always open at noon, so that I could run it late. It is nice because many come from all over the area because I had the good sense to also run some classic horror flicks, B-movie slashers, popular franchise, and of course, the Dead Man series. I could never have even thought of taking over the mantle if I did not include the chapter police that made me. I made my way to the floor and found something off. I tripped over the front of the door, tripped and fell right into the front lobby. To break my fall, I turned to fall on my right arm. Because I was left-handed, it hurt. Because I was left-handed, it hurt. It's best right-handed, of course. Mainly because I fell into the force of my 200-pound body onto my arm. I got up and winced, because my elbow seems to be injured, but not that bad. It still moved. I just had to be careful. After I got up and dusted myself off, I then took notice that I was in fact in the lobby of the theater. Funny, I thought I locked the door. I was certain I locked it now, that I think of it. Because there were someone smoking across the street, and it creeped me out to see him standing there as I locked the door. I could not see his face, but I could tell it was he, because I heard him. It was a dry croak of a laugh, as dry as dead leaves, and it was like the voice of Perry Delaware, the dead man himself. But this dude was much harsher, huskier, and more gravelly, probably because of his smoking. His face was the only unseen for me because of the hood he wore. Not that there was some man who wore a hooded cape from a druid circle, but more because it was a raincoat, as if he was caught in the rain that occurred the previous morning. His laugh sent chills down my spine, and I ran immediately to my car, eager to get away from the man. There was something about that man, I do not know what, but something scared me, like something out of a horror movie where someone saw and they changed them, even killed them. I walked into the lobby, done with the carpet, done in black fibers that were covered with pools of red fiber to make look like the blood pools. It had 3 theaters of loyal customers. Every week, the fray of Thor that comes to the crowd to make bank. The diehards, fanatics, the nostalgia they come to watch movies. There's unkillable as the monsters in them. Even though the little buzz into the light, the thought even brought a little buzz into the head like a giant hint of booze, made me forget all about the bad man. and the unlocked door. I had just finished all the little things, setting up the timers for screenings, making the popcorn, and setting everything in place. I do it all myself, not to toot my own horn. I even made the system that times and plays the movies I run. I took to programming in high school. It was an idea I was able to make something that just as long as I knew the code. Off or on, off, on, even blinking. I just moved from there. The sun was setting. I will set later and later for the next 3 months. Then it will sink. Although I did not like the winter for the cold, I had to give it props for having the dark last much longer. More time for the ghosts and ghouls of the world to get the day on. The sun was setting, and I could almost see the people coming in their cars, walking the dark streets, taking their own methods to come to my theaters for their fix of blood and guts. It was wonderful. I think I would sit out the time, about 2 hours, by watching some Dead Man. I went to my personal office, walking down the way that had the lights flicker, my own personal touch, and saw the door was open, and before I could turn the knob, my chills growing. It was an awful creak, the rotting brass hinges that joined my door to the hall. The room was empty, but one of the tapes was already playing. It's weird because it kept showing the same thing over. Will he survive? In the bold blood red letters. This pissed me off because it had to be a dry voice. This had to be. Why would would he be laughing? I went into my office, trying to ignore that scream that filled me with fury. I got to the phone, a landline that was so outdated it made dinosaurs seem like smartphones. I put the receiver up to my ear and listened in silence. I looked closer at my phone and saw that it was cut. This started to spook me, sending chills out branching from my nervous system. There were goosebumps on my arms faster than anything else before. This is not a joke. I quickly locked the door of my office. Fuck the other people. I didn't want to die. It's not my time. I got out my cell phone, the latest iPhone that was shit out of the minds of Apple. It cost a good deal, too. I pressed the button, but the screen stayed dark. It was dead. I gulped. There was something wrong. It must have been my charger. It didn't work. Fuck, I thought. I fixed it. I'm stuck here. There's no gun because I failed to test. Oh, Jesus. Yeah, catch on. I failed to test for one last June. And I had to wait until a week to reapply. Another chance at the license. It pissed me off mightily. There was also a chance that all of this was just the prank of some person, some burglar who almost got caught. But at that moment, the cut phone cord batted a little close to the soul of my childhood movie marathons of horror movies. The thought of dying here, trapped like a rat, made my already panicked pace go harder. However, the feelings here were mixed. It was awesome. The kid part of me, who didn't know the fear of danger yet, to be in just the situation that Perry, Delaware would have been in. If not to tell why, I had a kid. I kind of had. Oh, jeez, no. No. Yeah, it might be a bit much, but it is part of the actual story. The adult part of me was pissing his mental pants, and possible his own too. He knows that there is little chance that there is heaven, or hell, or nothingness on the other side of the thin strand we call life, so easily cut. I looked around for something that I could use, and jumped when I heard the sound of heated air coming from the vent in the floor. It sounded like it was working overtime, probably because it was. I needed to change the filter soon, but I'd have to wait for now. Warm air started to fill the room. I had a faint sweet smell. That drunk sweet tooth of a janitor must have left some candy down in the boiler room. He was always forgetting the filter, and I was always getting lazy. I rummaged around through my drawers, looking for razors I used for box cutters. It was in the bottom of the drawer. There was a small box of tape. It was more than perfect. However, it was starting to be hard to breathe. I guess I was a little more out of shape than I thought I was. And there was also duct tape, looking for something I was always trying to find. This was what I was going to do This was something I was going to do that I learned from a Canadian police force video. I quickly rummaged around for some leftover hats, and the place was young. There was a box full of old, musty bill hats that baseball fans were accustomed to. But these were all limestone gray, with intricate embroidering that looked like moss. The letters that were embroidered to look like letters etched into a gravestone. The letters were the date of birth of the dead man himself, March 15th, 1987. Taking all three in the combination, but taping the razor blades to the hat. I would have wanted some rope, so that improved the weapon had some range. But this will have to do, although apparently I might be sorry, I thought I didn't put that in there. I was starting to have some trouble breathing. It was like panting in the dull reflection of the rainbows. I could see a lot of red on my complexion. All of a sudden, I felt incredibly sleepy. It was only the deepest whisper my sober mind could make to now control my body. You've been drugged. Sweet smell, trouble breathing, and you look drowsy. Remember the dentist? You got gassed. However, all that got across was the thought of passing gas in the dentist's chair would be funny as hell, and started giggling as I saw a gray shape descend over me. Had it always been there? Who cared? I giggled on as the focus zoomed out. I slipped into darkness. I woke with a sudden and whooping take of breath. I came back and coughed with the vigor of a long-time smoker. I heard the sounds of some dialogue. It was the sound of people picking through something. There were sounds of metal doors and tires crunching pavement. I soon got my coughing under control and saw that the movie was The Dark Half, which was lined up for Theater 3. It was an adaptation from the works of the masterman, Stephen King. But right now, it felt creepy. It made me want to leave. I tried to get up, but realized there was now heavy rings of duct tape strapped around me that strapped me to the movie theater chair. I looked around, the wrapped man I was, and so I was, and as soon as I turned around to my right, sitting a seat away, was a corpse. I screamed in silent horror. In my terror, I noticed it was the garb of that guy from last night. It was the Laughing Man. The terror only grew as the corpse began to reanimate, and, as I would learn, animate itself. It turned its head. It was a face so rotted you could barely see who it used to be. Its eye was green, but the color had long since left it, and it was just a milky white, making the iris look like jade. Its lower jaw unhinged, its facial muscles contracted and moved as it started to speak. Hello, Kyle. It's very nice to meet you in person. It was just the face. It was his face that looked. It looked as if his face were his vocal muscles moved, reminded him of exposed steampunk machinery. Except this was a lot more pussy, mossy, and smelly. Rotting zombie automation started talking. Almost killed you too soon. That nitrous oxide can suffocate you if the operator's not careful. His face moved in such a way that might have been an expression before his sleeping in the grave. I I'm surprised at you, Kyle. Don't you recognize me? His dry, coarse croak of a voice sounded like an overreacted sarcasm. No, it didn't. Sorry, I just like the deadpan voice. I'm surprised you don't know your own reflection. The last word was animated, with the zombie claiming to raise his arms up, making himself look bigger like a goose about to attack. I tried speaking up, but my voice did not work. It was scary. I was coughing, but now my voice did not work. Seeing the look on my face, the zombie found time enough for some explaining. Yeah, I thought you'd be better if you couldn't scream. Makes the process a lot easier. He pulled out a pack of menthols and put it in his mouth, pulled out a Zippo, and lit the smoke. And after a long moment of him enjoying the smoke and coughing out the smoke, it was fitting you picked a king story for tonight. There's always something in his writing that made things like me very true. You might be wondering who I am, who I really am. Well, I'm you, or what you wish to be. He turned from his watching at the screen to face me, expecting an answer from my fearful face. I saw what he was getting at. When I was a kid, I loved the dead man so much. I always dressed up as my OC version of him every Halloween. I drew many renditions, and so many that I won an art contest for detail I was able to achieve. The rotting face, the cigarette that I always thought was awesome, but managed to kick my senior year of high school. It was me, and I made him. I made him with my belief, like to a cross in Salem's Lot and it, where the power of belief brings power. Seeing my understanding, he took another puff, and after a cough, he spoke again. Good. I'm going to make this simple. No convolution, no ridiculousness. The fact is, I'm tired of living the way I am. Maybe that has more to do with the wavered belief you have. No, sorry. Maybe that has to do with the wavered belief you have when computers and theater only took over your interest. Or maybe the power of belief, it has an expiration date. But the fact of the matter is, I'm slowly rotting, and it is painful. He slammed his cigarette into the plastic arm chest of me. There was a force that suggested aggression. I did a lot of reading recently, in libraries recently, all thanks to the cover of Night. And my plan is, which was in work for a long time, is to die as you become what I am now. It's expressed in change. He pulled out a piece of paper and attached a string from his and produced a string from his jacket. On it was a cartoon likeness of me bleeding from some flesh-etched symbols, and he held it to a reel with the zeal of someone who holds a Turin shroud, or the Turin shroud. It hit me like a truck. He thought if he believed hard enough, it would work. This guy was some mad zombie, crawled out of the grave with brains so molder and wormy he was delusional. But the whole scenario seems delusional, didn't it? That I'm talking to a zombie. I started to struggle as he pulled out the razor box cutter and loaded a razor blade into it from the box that I made my hat from. He was slow about it, working with the sway of a priest anointing a confirmation with holy oils. He got up and shuffled over to me, making an air symbol in front of him that was unrecognizable. I was trying my hardest to scream, to thrash. Where was the loyal fans? Where were those who were so pissed off if I got sick and had to close the shop for a time? They got arrested for trying to break in. He stood in front of me, reverently holding the box cutter up, and spoke with the tone of a holy man delivering a sermon. With the blades that Kyle himself picked out, making them worthy of drawing blood. I make symbols of transformation, ones that were chosen by me, the prophet son of my Lord Kyle, and describe his creation of my world. The glyph of transformation carved into the flesh of my Lord Kyle will end the suffering I was created to endure. And with that, he held me with surprising grip and carved the face into my symbol. With a symbol, carved my face with those symbols. The feeling was excruciating. The feeling of all the nerves in the path of the blade being severed, never to scar over. Then he lifted my shirt over my navel and carved there too. By this time, I was faint in the pain, with pain and blood loss. I wanted it to end, for death to come, only to endure this nightmare. With the final cut into my abdomen, he extended to the blade of the box cutter. It was to my horror that he had somehow spot welded the blades together for extra length. He brought it down, plunging into my thigh, and at that moment I could feel the mortal wound as he struck my femoral artery. Just at the edge of life, I saw he use the same blade to gash out his own throat, then sat right beside me. I woke up in great agonizing pain. I could feel the wounds drying out, but not clotting up. It was only slow streams instead of gushing rivers of blood. I sat back, at least try to finish the movie while I'm still want to stop bleeding. All right, that was it. Have a good day. I got pissed.